So, here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And feels like it's been forever since I've done an episode, and it's because I've been traveling almost 2 out of the 3 past weeks, and then in the middle felt like I was deathly ill. I don't know if it was bronchitis or what it was, but it was bad. It was really bad. So even today, about a week and a half after I kind of got over that sickness, I'm still coughing a little bit. So if I cough occasionally as I'm going through the recording, I'm so sorry, but can't really control it. And I actually cough more when I'm laughing. So it's been really sad and depressing because I haven't been able to laugh as much. But wanted to talk about the Delivering Well Summit that I was at in Jamaica, and why those kind of events are so important. For some of you that are listening, you probably were there. And for some of you, you might have not been there, but you know about Dr. Anissa Holmes. And sorry, I'm so sorry. I gave you a warning, though. I told you I'd give you a warning. For those of you who, don't know, she has the Delivering Well University and boot camps and all sorts of fun stuff. And her big event was in Jamaica. It's where she practices. And there's about 300 guests there, I think. Some teams, dentists, consultants, coaches, marketers, you name it. They were there. Great event. And just had an amazing time. And booked my ticket for next year already. And she just did a wonderful job, and her team did a wonderful job. And it was really inspiring to me to see how fast you can put something like that together. And have a great time. If you are a dentist and you're listening, you believe it or not, guys, there are people that are not dentists that listen to this podcast, which I think is actually quite funny. But it's great because, here's a news flash. It's not always about the dentistry, right? So what was interesting, though, is I was there, and I was thinking to myself how important it is to have at least biannually a retreat that you go to, that you get outside of your own practice. It's something that I've always thought about because, 3 years ago when I was learning, almost 4 years ago now, actually, all about TMJ, all about practice management, all about creating a new patient process and being a mentor. It was a lot of traveling, right? It was almost every other week I was traveling to Scottsdale, or I was traveling to Dallas, or I was traveling to Toronto, and just going all over the place. And it got to be very, very debilitating for me to always be traveling that much, learning. And, it's funny as I'm going back to traveling a lot now and going through that process again, but I always wanted to create a program, and Dental Sales Secrets is my baby, and teaching dentists how to, do more of their high-end dental work by helping case acceptance, codename sales, right? But what was interesting is I always wanted to create an environment where people didn't have to travel, and dentists didn't have to travel to get the CE. But still have a community and some type of feedback to be able to help these dentists as they're going through this journey. And I think that's important. But I do also think it's important that you go to events that get you outside of your comfort zone and get you outside of your dental bubble, right? Dentistry in general is such an isolationist type environment and a career where if you don't watch it, you could go years and years and years and never even talk to another dentist about what they're actually doing in their own practice and never get any ideas on how to improve. So I do think that it's absolutely vital for at least once a year, maybe even twice a year, to get outside, fly, take your team. Heaven forbid. I know just talking to the dentists that were there, the ones that took their team probably get the most out of it because their team comes back, they're inspired, they want to help, they want to continue to push their own development. So important. A lot of dentists, they don't want to invest the money into the team because it's like, well, they might leave, right? And they might take this information and decide to go on their own or go to a different practice that has more benefits or whatever. And the reality is you can't prevent that. But what happens if you don't train your team and they stay with you, right? How much is that going to cost you? And I can guarantee you that's going to cost you a lot more than if you didn't, worry as much about that and just continually train your team and develop your team. And so it's so important to not only get away to these environments, but also try to take your team if at all possible. And once you're there, network, right? Talk to other people. What are they doing? How are they doing it? It was a very open group, and dentistry sometimes, we can be a little bit competitive, which is totally silly and nonsense. I always joke, even what I do at the TMJ stuff, it's like if I saw 25 patients a year, I'd be so busy that I wouldn't be able to do anything else in my practice. And that'd be 25 patients a year that needs TMJ therapy. Like, that is such a minuscule number that even in my little tiny town that I practice in Hendersonville, there's probably, I would say, at least 5,000 people in the town that would actually need what it is that I offer and could benefit from it immensely. And so, okay, that means every year 25 people. In 10 years, it's 250 people. That means in one career, 30 years, give or take, 750 people. So probably could have 6 or 7 dentists doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing in my practice, and we'd still be fine in this tiny little town. Then you compare it to a big city, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, like there's more patients on a potential city block than dentists can handle. So I think it's important that when you go to these events to really collaborate and share and learn what they're doing and learn from the best and network. But the big thing is like just making a decision to go and do it, and take your family, right? So, I don't necessarily take my wife to every event that I go to because I think some events are better than others. But if you're going to a lot of continuing education or you're doing a lot of personal growth and development, try to involve your spouse if at all possible, right? So important. You don't want them to feel resentful that you're traveling all over the place and you don't take them. So be sure to do that. Be sure to, help them understand what you're going through. Like, if you're a dentist listening to this, my guess is you're probably a little bit more entrepreneurial in nature, right? If you're listening to a podcast, you're probably a little bit more entrepreneurial in nature. And the more, your team can understand you and your spouse can understand you and you can understand you, right? Understand who you are as a person, the better off you'll be. So when you're going to these events, you're you're putting in the time, you're developing, bring somebody with you. Make sure that you're carrying them along with the path, and they might learn some things that could transform their life in the process. You as a dentist or you as an entrepreneur, one of your jobs is to inspire and lead and set a vision of where you want to go, and then allow everybody to play out on that. So I think it's vitally important that, get out, go to these events. It doesn't have to be Jamaica, but go someplace 2 times a year, learn, exchange ideas, grow, bring your team, bring your spouse, and really start to think about how you can use the information that you learn and then take action. And that's probably going to be the next podcast episode for me, is how to actually take action on some of these things that you learn when you go to these big events, because it's so easy to learn a bunch, write a bunch of notes down, and then on Monday you don't do any of it. And I'm going to give you some tips on how I do that to be able to help you take some tangible action on things that you learn when you're at events like that. So I'm going to see you at the next episode, and I hope you had learned something from this one, and I didn't cough too much, and hopefully when I hear you again, I won't be coughing either. So you guys take care. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlitz. We'll see you on the next episode.